This video is sponsored by Skillshare. Hello, I'm Mimi, and when I wanted to start earning an income with my art skills, I felt like selling custom commissions was the simplest and fastest way that I could do that. But knowing how to actually set everything up was still a bit unclear, so I've made this video to act as a beginner's roadmap to selling your first art commissions. Art commissions are just when someone asks or commissions for you to draw them something custom, and usually it's things like pet portraits and family portraits, but it can be anything really. So I thought while I'm back in Brisbane and we're talking about commissions, I'm going to draw my parents' Hungarian Vizsla Parker. Commissions were my first reliable income stream before I set up my Patreon and started illustrating picture books. And although I don't do custom commissions now, I did quite a few pet and family portraits in 2021 and 2022. So if you want to start earning money selling custom illustrations, I've broken down how to get started selling commissions into 6 steps to help guide you on your way. And at the end, I also have some advice for pricing. Step 1. Decide what kind of commissions you want to sell. I think it's a good idea before doing anything else to get some clarity on what kind of commissions you want to be drawing for your customers and why you want to sell commissions in the first place. What is it that you want to get out of it? Do you want to make a side income? Do you want it to become a full-time business? Or maybe you just want to practice your art skills. This is really useful for you to know now because if you want it to become a full-time business, then you'll need to be more strategic about how you reach your audience and make sustainable sales compared to just making a small side income. And you don't have to lock yourself into only offering one type of commission, but having an idea of what it is that you're going to be selling and why will help you focus the time you spend practicing and marketing your services. So what kind of commissions could you sell? Some of the most popular commissions are pet and family portraits because they make great gifts and each family is unique, so it's perfect for customization. But it can really be anything that people would like to have customized to them. So things like nursery art, wedding invitations, new home illustrations, zodiac signs, birth announcements, or anniversaries. There are lots of types of commissions that you can offer and specialize in. Often people just like to remember important life milestones, so any milestone or important date that can be made into a custom illustration is going to have a potential audience. Once you have an idea of what kind of commissions you think would be a good fit for you and your audience, you can move on to step 2. Practice your skills and style. You might already be confident enough with your art to not need too long with this step, but if you're a beginner, it's worth spending the time feeling comfortable with your skills before you start reaching out to potential customers. Your art definitely doesn't need to be perfect or anything. You can still be learning and developing, but you'll feel more confident and your customer will feel more confident if you've taken some time to practice your style. I spent months and months practicing my art before selling my first commission because it just takes time to learn art and how to use the medium of your choice. It's really useful at this stage to focus both on developing your style and also practicing the types of commissions you'd like to offer. Usually I don't think it's a big deal to nail down your art style, but if you're wanting to sell custom art, then having a clear style can really help your customer know what they're buying. Obviously, they can't know exactly what their commission is going to look like before you've drawn it, but if they can see what your style is, then they can at least have a pretty good idea. While you're gaining confidence with your style, you can also practice the types of commissions you're going to offer to build confidence with that particular subject. So if you want to offer pet portraits, practice drawing lots of cats, dogs, and other common pets. If you're wanting to offer custom family portraits, then practice drawing different types of people. So basically, create a lot of art, get loads of practice, and then move on to step 3. Build an audience and market yourself. You want to start building up an audience or community of people who like your art so that you can market your commission services to them when you're ready. And this step can overlap with the previous step because you can build your audience while you practice. A lot of artists get their orders for commissions largely through social media because it allows you to connect with so many people who like your style. I'll talk more about social media in just a moment, but if you don't want to deal with social media or just don't want to rely on it for your commissions, there are other ways you can reach your audience and grow a community. You could focus on in-person events like your local markets or craft fairs, or maybe you could try traditional marketing like flyers or business cards and putting them places where your audience will be. You can brainstorm ideas by thinking about who your audience is and how you might reach them. If you're offering pet portraits, try reaching out to your local vet or pet shop and ask if they'll allow you to leave flyers or a poster advertising your services. If you want to offer custom wedding invitations, reach out to wedding planners to offer their clients a discount. Social media is a really useful tool, but it doesn't have to be the only tool you use if you're not a big fan of it. Now, if you are wanting to build an audience on social media, it'll take a little while to grow, but it can be really powerful. First, think about which social media platforms you feel most excited to post on, and which platforms will allow you to best showcase to your audience what you have to offer. I'd recommend just having one or maybe two platforms that you focus on to begin with, because if you're trying to grow on too many at once, it can get really overwhelming and you'll have less time for the art itself. The platform that you choose is a space to showcase your art, but also who you are as an artist. And that's important because it helps you organically build a relationship with your audience before selling anything to them. The reason that a customer will buy from you and not somebody else is because they like your style and they've built a relationship with you through your social media content. So post your art, behind the scenes, process photos, anything that you feel comfortable sharing that will help you build your relationship with your audience. You'll want to consider who your target customer is so that your content appeals to them, because they're the people who you want to showcase your art and commissions to. Now, once you're ready to start accepting requests for commissions, you can tell the audience that you've been growing that you're available to illustrate. You could even consider offering a discount for your first few commissions to get the ball rolling and incentivize customers who are on the fence. So when you're at this stage, it's time for step 4. Set up the business admin. Once you've started building your audience and marketing yourself, you'll want to get ready to accept your first customer by deciding how you're going to process the business side of your commissions. You need a way to communicate with your customer about their commission request and a way for them to pay you. You have quite a few options for both of these, and it partly depends on where you're based and what medium you create your art in, and it's totally up to you how you want to go about it. There's really no right or wrong way to sell your custom art. So first, how are you going to communicate with your customer when they're ready to make a request? You want to make sure that it's clear and easy for them to get in touch so that there's no risk of them giving up from it being too cumbersome. And you definitely want to make sure that you see their message when they do reach out. You might suggest that they send you a DM on social media. You might ask for an email with the details of their request. You might have a messaging system on your online shop if you have one. There are lots of ways that a customer can reach out to you. I recommend that you choose something that really easily leads on from your marketing to make it simple for your customer. So if you're mostly going to be marketing on Instagram, you might ask them to DM you or direct them straight to your shop. Next, how are they going to pay you for your services? This is where things start to get a bit more businessy, and you need to make sure that you're protecting yourself financially and also that your customer feels confident in your payment system. Firstly, I recommend requesting payment upfront so that you don't do the work and end up having a customer not pay you. It's a very reasonable and common request, and I've never had a customer question it or ask to pay afterwards. The only exception for paying upfront might be a large commission project where payment can be in installments. So to receive the money from your customer, one option is to set up a payment account on a service like PayPal, which lets people send you money in your own currency via either an invoice or a payment link. The pros of this is that it's easy for your customer to send money if they're international, and you can invoice them for a custom amount. The downside is that there are quite a lot of scams that take advantage of PayPal, so you might need to be a little bit more careful. Another option is to set up a shop on an e-commerce site like Etsy or Shopify and make listings for your commissions that customers can buy. The pros are that these sites might feel more trustworthy and official to your customer, and a lot of common payment scams wouldn't really work there. The downsides are that there will be more fees than just a direct invoice, and it might get a bit awkward if you sell lots of totally unique commissions that don't fit the same price each time. I personally started with PayPal early on, and then I moved to Etsy and just had a listing where the customer could choose how many characters they wanted me to draw in their custom portrait. Another important thing to keep in mind is that once you start earning money, you need to make sure that you're following your country's regulations for small businesses, so you might need to register as a small business. I can't advise you on that, but definitely look into it if you haven't already. If you'd like some more in-depth guidance about growing your creative business, including some social media advice, then I can really recommend today's sponsor, which is Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community for creatives like us with loads of great classes on really helpful topics like digital art, entrepreneurship, and productivity. Their classes are packed full of great information to help you achieve your goals and have helped me so much with my own journey. And I especially like their learning pathways that bring hand-picked classes together to help you focus on a particular topic, like this one called Your Creative Business, Build It, Brand It, Launch It. I like this learning pathway because you get an understanding of the business side of things from a creative perspective and advice about building a strong online presence to grow your business. And all of these classes are taught by experienced teachers. I also have my own class on Skillshare that you can watch for free today, along with this learning pathway, because the first 500 people to use my link in my description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. You can get started today, and to help you get the maximum benefit of your free trial, here are some other learning pathways that I think are really great. Thanks so much to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to selling your first commission. So by this point, you've been practicing your art skills, building an audience to reach your target customers, and have organized the business side of things. Hopefully, you'll soon have a customer see your marketing and ask to purchase a custom commission from you, which leads us on to step 5, make your first commission. Now you're ready for the fun part and can actually make your first customer's commission. This can feel a bit intimidating, but try to have confidence in your abilities and remember that your customer chose to pay you to illustrate them something because they like your style. To make sure that everything goes smoothly, try to be really clear with your customer from the start about what they can expect from you, including an approximate timeline, how involved they'll be in the creative process, and how they'll receive their finished art. And keep in mind that they might not know very much about how art is made. It's up to you whether you want to draw a sketch first and show it to them before creating the final art, or whether you'd prefer to go straight to the final. It's also up to you whether you're going to allow them any revisions to the final art. This is a bit tricky because depending on your process, it might take you quite a long time to make tweaks, but at the same time, if you're drawing a custom portrait, you want it to really represent who you're drawing, so it can be nice to let your customer request some small changes. Personally, I usually didn't show my customers a sketch first unless it was a more complicated commission, and I would allow them to make a couple of small tweaks to things like colors and little details after it was finished, but not really to anything major, and that always worked well for me and my customers. Now, if you're creating a digital commission, make sure that you draw it in a high resolution so that your customer gets a quality image that will print nicely. And if you've given them a deadline for when they'll receive the art, make sure that you stick to it as best you can. It's always better to give a more generous time frame and get it done faster than expected than to give it a short time frame and not be able to stick to it. So when you're happy with your illustration, it's time to send it to your customer. If you've created something physical, then you can send them a photo before sending them the finished piece in the mail. And if you've created something digital, then you can simply send the files via email or a file transfer service. I'd be mindful of sending final art via DM because messaging services often compress image files. Now, hopefully your customer really loves their custom illustration and you can work towards getting your next commission order, which takes us to step 6, build momentum. Once you've illustrated your first commission, you can show it off on social media to help market your services to new people. I always like to ask permission from the customer before posting a completed commission because sometimes they've been purchased as a gift and you don't want to spoil the surprise. You could also ask your customer for a review that you can share publicly to help build trust with potential new customers. And the more commissions you create with positive feedback, the easier it will be to make more sales because trust is such a big part of the sales process. If you have limited spots available for illustrating because you only have a set amount of time available, then definitely let people know because that can also help with sales because it can help build urgency and also create a little bit of exclusivity. Hopefully after all of these steps, you'll be able to slowly build some momentum with your sales and get paid to illustrate, which is the dream for a lot of us. So I have a few tips for being successful selling commissions, and then I want to talk to you about pricing. So tip 1, be patient. Getting your first commission might take a little while because it takes time to grow an audience and to build trust with people, but you can still spend that time practicing and improving your skills. I was illustrating almost every day for about 9 months before I got my first paid commission, so don't worry if it's taking a little while. Tip 2, offer something unique. There are lots of artists illustrating custom portraits, and although I think that everyone has a unique style to offer, if you'd like a little less competition, you could definitely try niching down a bit and offering a style of commission that's really specific. I gave some examples earlier, but things like housewarming illustrations or custom wedding invitations are much less competitive than family portraits, but still have an audience that you could focus on. It might be that you offer more than one type of commission, but having something really unique can help you stand out and get your foot in the door. Tip 3, be aware of shopping seasons. If you feel like you had lots of orders in November but now have hardly any in February, it's probably not that everyone has lost interest in you, but more likely that it's a seasonal slowdown. Depending on your niche, customers are more likely to buy at certain times of year, and that's really normal. So if you offer portraits of couples, you might see more sales in the lead up to Valentine's Day and Christmas, and then have quiet periods at other times of the year. You can try to take advantage of this though by offering more commission spots during busy times and then taking some rest during quiet times, or offering a discount when orders are slow. And tip 4, understand common scams. Unfortunately, there are quite a few dishonest commission requests on social media from people trying to take advantage of keen artists, but you can avoid that by educating yourself on how to best be protected. Learn the common scams and how to recognize red flags, and don't ignore your instincts if it doesn't seem right. A lot of scams involve someone insisting on paying via PayPal, so you can avoid a lot of those by having a different secure payment method like an Etsy listing. If someone in your DMs wants to pay you a lot of money for a commission, if they don't follow you but insist that they love your art, if they avoid any questions that you ask them about their commission requests, and if they keep asking for your PayPal email and name, those are all red flags, and unfortunately it's probably a scam. I don't want that to scare you off though, because there are lots of genuine, lovely customers out there. Just be aware of scams and don't give out your personal information or send money to anyone. So speaking of money, let's talk about how to price your commissions. Pricing is always really tricky and there isn't ever a one-size-fits-all approach, but I can give you a little guidance. There are a few things to consider with pricing. The first thing is how much you want to be paid as either an hourly rate or a project rate, and that has to take into account how long it takes you to illustrate a commission on average. You can get a better understanding of how long things take with practice and experience, so your time estimate might not be totally accurate in the beginning, and that's fine. The second thing is how much your customer is willing to pay. There are customers out there at all different price points, and it's hard to know how much your customers on average will be willing to pay for your particular style. But this is something that again doesn't have to be accurate in the beginning. You can start a little too high or too low and then adjust over time. The third thing to consider is any costs of materials or postage. If you create traditional art or you're going to be physically sending anything to your customer, then you want to consider the costs of your materials, packaging, and postage. So now we need to find a happy spot where all of these three things can exist. What price range would cover your time, not be too low or too high for your customer, and cover materials costs? I can't answer that for you directly, but as a really broad range, I can say that I've seen lots of digital art portrait commissions quite commonly sell for anywhere between $20 and $100 US. Personally, I think $20 is too low unless your style is so quick that it only takes you under an hour from start to finish. If your art takes a long time to make and you can't find a price that will fit your customers but also cover your time, you could consider simplifying the commissions that you offer to something that doesn't take you quite so long to create but that your customer still enjoys. You don't want to be completely underselling your time just because you don't want to charge too much. My very first commissions, I was selling for around $25 US in early 2021. And then I increased my prices to about $40 for the simplest portraits of just one character. The last time I sold portrait commissions in 2022, I was charging about $50 US for one character, and then about $15 to $20 for each extra character, up to 5 characters total in one commission. I could draw a single person or pet in about an hour and a half, but then there's also time spent communicating with customers back and forth and admin time. If you have an estimate in mind of what you'd like to charge but aren't quite sure, you can always start with the lower end of your pricing and use that as a sort of introductory offer for your first few commissions, just while you build up some confidence and get some experience, and then raise your prices to the higher end when you've had a chance to test out the process. Another thing you can do is research how much other artists with a similar style or medium are charging for their commissions via the websites or social media profiles. It's important to keep style and medium in mind because what customers will pay for digital art will probably be different to what they'll pay for a large watercolor original. If you're open to sharing, then leave us a comment below with how much you charge for custom commissions or how much you think artists should be charging, and it will help all of us gather some community information about pricing. So I've finished my own little dog portrait of Parker. Thanks so much for watching this video, and consider giving it a like and subscribing if you haven't already for more art videos. And if you'd like access to my library of art lessons and my monthly illustration club, then join me on Patreon where I post a couple of times a week. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!